All right, we're back, and it's still Crossfire with Dakbo and Ishoma. We have a gentleman who just joined us in the course of the break, and he will be running the show with us this morning. He's no other person, but one of the best people I try to bring. When you want to hear the truth about what is going on, you just want to bring him, on board. Let's meet Gbenga, Onitilo. Gbenga.
Good morning.
It's been a very rainy, Thursday, and
yeah.
Thank you. Good. I keep saying to people, I said, anytime we invite you on the show, I have this confidence, and I have this confidence that you're just going to make it. If it is traffic, you will just jog through. You will just jog through, knowing fully well that, you love to exercise and all of that.
To jog.
So you will just jog and say, okay, this traffic, let me just park this car here. Okay, I'm on my way. And you still just make it. Okay, we have a very interesting package for today. And we just want to tell Nigerians the truth and let people really know what is going on. Constitution amendment, Gbenga, and we'll be looking at the key areas and the implications, why the 8th Assembly is so much interested in doing this, and some of the things that really bothered me. I wrote a couple of them down that is making me feel, and that's my thoughts, that's my position, that everything about the Constitution amendment, chairman or probably orchestrated by the 8th Assembly, is purely political. I was saying on our morning show that is my feeling, that's my position, and I will tell you why. 35% inclusion for women in government. How does that put food on the table of Nigerians? The one that has really been very controversial is local government autonomy, local government administration and its autonomy. Another one is devolution of power, complete devolution of power, especially to state government, and let us see. That would have formed a very major thrust of the restructuring that people are clamoring for. They talked about distributable pool account, and that is to save at least 10% of money that comes into the federal government account, not fully disposing them. Because most of the time, if you have 500 billion to share, across, with the state government, they don't leave anything in the account. They share everything. Now, the legislative arm of government is saying, leave 10%, let's be saving it, and we'll save that for like 5 years. And we'll see how much we would have been able to save over time. Now, they talked about political party and electoral, matters, to change some certain things. I think it's still very apolitical. Now, financial autonomy, we've talked about that. Then, status of the FCT. How does that put food on the table of somebody who is in Igbotele or in Okuku, in Osun State, and all of that. Then, nomination of ministers, commissioners, judiciary, legislature, and the likes of it. And then, local government name change came up, at a point too in the list of so many things that they intend to change. Now, let's focus on Constitution amendment. What is your take, Gbenga? Do you think we should do amendment of the Nigerian Constitution, first of all, or you think we need a total rejigging of it, like coming up with something that have a similitude to like a new constitution for Nigeria?
Well, for me, it's a thin line, really. Okay. If you look at the history of America over how many years of democracy and what they've been able to do, the amendments they have even made to their constitution is even up to 30 or 50. No. There are several amendments that they've made in their constitution. And as I always tell people, every nation must evolve based on their level of development. Okay. You cannot evolve beyond your level of development. Where are we at the moment? You have a country that has the illiteracy level quite high, which means people are not as educated as you expect them to be. The level of poverty, according to Bureau of Statistics, close to 70%. You are looking at youth unemployment, over 60% of your youths that can work. So when you look at all those dynamics and you look at the participation of the citizens themselves in governance or in politics, it now shows you why things are the way they are. Since 1999 is when this democracy train really started. And if you look at how the legislative arm has evolved over time, in the days of Obasanjo, they have always been trying to be muzzled for keeping them from their independence to be able to do their work. So a lot of people will argue with me, but I would say this is the most engaging
and the most independent, as is where
independent assembly, and also controversial. You can put all those things together, but when it comes to issues, they've been dealing issues. But the challenge I have is, we should be able to separate what it means to be the executive from the legislation. Putting food on the table is the core work of the executive. They are supposed to make laws that create some level of enablement within the public space, create some level of control, and help the executive to deliver on what they have promised to the people. So when we say throw away the Constitution and get another one, I think we are way beyond that. Because you have a lot of people shouting, restructuring, restructuring. But the thing is this, what kind of restructuring are we really talking about? Is restructuring going to make a governor more accountable in his state in paying salaries? Do you need restructuring to be done for you to pay salaries, to pay pensions? Do you need restructuring to tell you that you can actually create enabling laws within your state to draw in investments? Because what is going to get a lot of states out of all the mess they are in is to be able to draw investment into your state. It's not going after bank loans. It's not just focusing on taxation. There are a whole lot of issues that are not restructuring based. We understand there are a lot of things on the exclusive list of governments that needs to be addressed. One of the key ones is this issue of devolution of power. It's very, very critical because all the other units can't keep feeding a center. A center that is overbloated. A center that's full of a lot of bureaucracy. And at the expense, for example, look at Lagos State. The VAT that is being generated all over the nation, about 65% of it comes from Lagos State. You will take that huge resource, you will now send it to the center. The center will now be the one, at the end of the day, coming up with what to allocate. I've always given an analogy about how dysfunctional government Nigeria is. About 66% of the roads in Nigeria are local roads. About 66%. Just about 21 or 22 is about state roads, and like about 16-17% are federal roads. But when they share the allocation, 53% of allocation comes to the federal. And you have about 23 or 24% going to the states, maybe about another 21 going to the local governments. So when you look at, just look at that analogy I've painted. When most of the roads are controlled by local governments, but they are the ones that get the least of resources, how do you want to have development in Nigeria? So when we're talking about devolution of powers, those are the real issues that we're talking about. Government should not be involved in creating jobs. It's not the work of government to create jobs. Anywhere in the world, government does not create jobs. Government creates enablement, creates empowerment for the private sector, SME, MSME, for them to create the job. Government should be focusing on things like security, foreign policy, health, and education.
Science and technology.
Three key things. Education, three key things. Education, security, and education, security, and health. Those are the three fundamental things a government should focus on. Even infrastructure should be driven by the private sector, participation of the private sector through investment. You create an enablement for investment to come and help you fund your infrastructure. So when I hear that Lagos is government is going to put so money, we don't have the resources to fix any road. We don't have the resources. That's why you need private sector partnership for most of the infrastructure. But the sad part is the kind of things that we have created is for those that are rent seekers. Those that government apologetics to take over most of this thing, like what you see happening in the power sector. That's where we are. So when they come up with all these laws on privatization, it will enhance people that government, into government patronage. So the major challenge we have is still this issue of devolution of power. It's very, very critical.
Sorry to interject you. Since you have already brought the issue of devolution of power into play, something is really very clear. Section 308 of the Nigerian Constitution provided immunity for governors, for presidents, for all. And don't forget, up till now, government is not even, state government is not giving any form of account. They are now accountable to monies they receive from the federal government.
Have you ever seen any...
Okay. That's been very clear.
Yeah.
Secondly, you have an immunity clause protecting them, and you want to devote power again to them. With the clause still existing, do you think it's proper for devolution of power to state government and local government should be done, knowing fully well that they have an immunity. If there's money laundering, no accountability, they will launder money. They are doing it without devolution of power. Now, when you devote power fully to them,
I think that what's core here is to understand the whole essence of immunity.
Yeah.
What does immunity provide for? It's simple, to ensure that the government runs smoothly without interference. Frivolities, frivolous.
no, immunity here says that you can.
But it does not stop prosecution after government.
That's where we have a problem.
That's where the problem.
Let me tell you, in the West, the governors, they have immunity. But there is a caveat there. When it comes to criminal matters, treason, crime, you will be picked up. But in Nigeria, when it comes to crime, money laundering, financial operation,
you get away with it.
They get away. They said not until after they leave. In America, if you're a governor and you are caught for anything that has to do with treason, criminal charges, money laundering, you will be picked up. The law of immunity will not protect you from that.
Yeah,
but in Nigeria, it's different in Nigeria. You are fully protected.
Do you expect the Nigerian law to run as fast as they
expect it?
That's not the matter. Corruption does not know time.
Corruption does not know time. We say justice is blind. If justice is blind,
justice shouldn't be blind.
What do you say?
Ideally, justice shouldn't be blind. Ideally.
What I'm saying is, it should not be on the premise of because you are a governor, because you are serving 4 years. When you are done, we all know what happens. These guys know how to take advantage of the system. They will have amassed so much where they can afford the best of sons against the government, against agencies of government.
You even give them a long time to perfect their act.
Yes, they perfect their act. Government agencies that don't have independence, that don't have their own sources of funding independent of government. You see, you know one of the reasons why we cannot win the war of corruption? The agencies of government are still under the apparatus of government.
Of individuals.
They don't have their own independent funding. It's the government that determines, you know why EFCC keeps getting the worst of lawyers? They don't even have funding.
No, but then do you know
they are still under the control, command and control of the presidency, which ought not to be, just like the Metropolitan Police. They are not being controlled by any government. Their funding does not come from any budget. It comes from taxpayers directly. So they are accountable to taxpayers. So if you can't do all those kind of things for places like EFCC, ICPC, the Nigerian police, there is nobody that will be able to control them because primarily their allocation, if, for example, let's say their allocation comes from the FARC, directly. It's not come from any form of budget appropriation. And they have their own full autonomy. They have their own full autonomy because you can't keep putting agencies at the control of arm of government that are political. For example, the judiciary is not political.
Yeah.
If all those arms of God, all those agencies, for example, are being put under the internal control of the judiciary, even though we know our judiciary, there's a lot of reforms that needs to be done. They as well. Even the judiciary is not fully independent.
Yeah, well,
their funding still comes from the presidency.
Part of the amendment.
So
they intend to separate,
the
office of the Chief Justice of the Federation, completely different from the Attorney General of the Federation.
No. But when you still look at the funding of these offices, funding is critical in politics. Because if you say you separate an office and the funding is still coming from the presidency, there's still some lot of control.
Okay, Gbenga, let's talk.
Permit me to quickly jump in on this. Now, from everything you have said, from everything you have pointed out, it points to the fact that we have an institutional problem.
Serious institutional problem.
If we also look at the first question that was raised, as it regards, the amendment, one of the reasons why a lot of Nigerians are clamoring that we have a brand new constitution is because the constitution we're running right now was imposed on Nigerians, can be said to have been imposed on Nigerians by the military. And that is a self-serving constitution. And every other apparatus of government, every other law draws its source from the constitution. Now, when you have a constitution that points to institutional deficits, at the end of the day, you cannot have institutions that are stronger. You cannot stronger than individuals, stronger than political parties or political affinity. That is the reason why a lot of people look at the Nigerian economy and say it's largely a capitalist economy.
It's a government-driven economy.
The issue now is how do we make institutions stronger than individuals? Because
Let-
at the end of the
let-
day,
let me
this
ask-
is some sort of
Correct.
problem.
Let me add to that before we take a response from Gbenga. Now, you have a government that is busy empowering the administrative arm of government instead of strengthening
Institutions.
the Fed. You know, if we want to really have a true
Federating
federal
units.
exactly, the federating units are being muffled at the expense of strengthening the administrative unit of government.
Yeah.
And this is what you have in a government that is so very, very insincere.
Yeah.
And still talking about the insincerity on the
but
part of government.
this is when you say
Yeah.
a government, you make it seem like it's restricted to just this APC administration. If you look
It
at the
has always been our
administration
trend.
from 1999
But we have to
now,
focus on the present.
this has
we
always
have to
been-
focus on
We have to
what
focus on
we
the
should
present.
focus on the present, but also talk about, because we inherited the system
No,
from the
we
past.
understand, but
Yeah.
this is one of
So
the
let's-
things.
because-
This is one of the things this present APC-led government advocated for: devolution of powers. It's part of their manifesto. It's part of the things they shouted
But the
about.
problem is, if we have devolution of power, does
Yeah.
it literally make institutions stronger? Does it address
No.
this problem?
Those are the things. Devolution of power is supposed to create an atmosphere where institutions are stronger than individuals.
Exactly.
They are stronger than the people in government. Let me give you Rwanda, because we're not just sincere.
Yeah.
I will still go back to Rwanda. After the genocide, before Rwanda could move ahead to say that let's move our company forward and all that, those are the first things they needed to sit down first and look at their constitution. They needed to do some amendments in their constitution. There were existing constitution. But they said, what are the key primary things that we need to deal with? Education, agriculture, empowerment of the people. They look at the critical things. And they created people, they came up with people that will come up with all those amendments. And the amendments were made. It was put to vote via the National Assembly, the legislature, and they voted, two-thirds voted. But also, they did one critical thing. They put in place a referendum as part of their constitution.
I was coming there. I mean, I really, okay.
And about 89% or 90% of the people voted in place of what all the amendments have made. And that was what formed the platform for the growth, the development, and all the things we keep hearing about Rwanda. That
Yes.
was where it came from. So a country is being guided by what? The constitution. The things within your constitution is what drives governance. But where is a bit dangerous in a state like Nigeria, for you to talk about the issues of referendum in a place where most of the people live on less than $1 a day. People are ethnic in their thinking. People are
Very
religious in their thinking. A referendum will be a very dicey thing to have when you don't have a united country. The Rwandans at that time were united. What united them was the pain they went through. It united everybody that we wanted something better. Nigerians are still not united. Just
Same
yesterday,
thing
some people
for
are
South
shouting,
Africa.
Odua. So if you go ahead in that divided polity and you say you are crafting a referendum, let me tell you, the politicians are the ones that will still have their way.
Exactly.
Because they can through their
That's where I'm
pockets,
coming to, Gbenga.
through
That's
their-
where-
people that
yeah.
have been shouting referendum, I'm always afraid. When you push a referendum in a divided country like ours, that money is what drives everything.
Everything.
Because why? Poverty. Because people have been denied welfare, social security. So the politicians have amassed so much to influence even. Look at Brexit. Most of the people that were supposed to vote in favor of it never showed up. It was the older people that voted
Yes.
in favor of Brexit.
And they want their Britain back.
Yeah,
the
want their
Britain
Britain
of
back.
their time.
But
is
the
for
younger people that were still alive, that will suffer some of these consequences, did not show up. So it became a major issue, which is still affecting the government that is running today.
But
Now let's look at some key areas, you know, so that we will not. I mean, devolution of power is one of them. Now we have talked about local government autonomy
Yeah.
on the show at a point, and I'm beginning to what's your take first of all before I ask.
Well,
the
you
question?
know, one of the things I will still applaud President Buhari for. You know, he also clamored for
Yes,
full
full
autonomy of the local governments, because that is critical to development in any nation. The closest to anybody anywhere is the local governments. Check all over the world. The mayors of cities are more powerful than even the governor.
Correct.
In Nigeria, what we have done is we have killed the powers that should be with the local government. And the local government, most of the times, all over the world, are the one that determines who becomes a governor. If you see the charade that happened with the last election, local government election is a charade. The script has been written from the very beginning. Okay. When you have a LASEC that is not fully independent, controlled by Lagos State government, funded by Lagos State government, and you still...
And then you have consensus candidates all across the...
So look, Atiku said something. People can hate Atiku for whatever. He said, when you have a democracy and political parties don't even have internal democracy driving them, you cannot have a well-rounded democracy.
Let's talk about internal democracy. Let's talk about it just a little bit before we go on our next break. Let's talk about internal democracy. Yeah. What exactly is the position we are in the current ruling party?
In the current ruling party, I don't think they don't have internal democracy. It's about power blocks, different power blocks. It's about different interest groups, because they think that they are progressives, they are Democrats, but when you look at all the things, how divided, close to about over 9 states of the APC are divided at the moment.
That's true.
Is it Kogi states? That they're all divided, not united? Is it Kaduna state where the governor is fighting against the Northwest? No. He's even fighting against the Northwest leader of the party. The Northwest Peter is even bigger than the governor. You went to demolish his house, and you say it's not well situated, but there are other houses around there. You demolished only your party leader that you're supposed to give respect. You demolish. The party itself is divided. I've always told people it's not a political party. It's an SPV that was used to used to drive. So they have not evolved into a political party yet. That's why you have all the bickerings, because they all came. The NPDP was there. Which was a major block. NPDP was a major block for them to win that election. Forget all the ANPP and all that. NPDP was a major block that they used to kill the government of Jonathan. So,
all right then. Talk about the fundamental principle, of a nation. We're talking about the Constitution. That is the document that determines whether a nation is moving forward or not. And we're talking about Constitution amendment in Nigeria, championed by the 8th Assembly. Is there sincerity on their part? That's what we've been discussing. We'll still talk more about this when we come back from this break. Stay with us. Really and truly, it's like we didn't go on a break, because conversation actually continued when we were on that commercial break. Now, let's look at another key area that baffles me. You talked about security, health, and education being the fundamental responsibility of a nation, of government. That should be the focus. Let's talk a bit about security. One of the things that came up as part of the things to be amended in the Constitution is a name change for the Nigerian police. That is not going to be the Nigerian police force any longer. It's going to be the Nigerian police. How does that affect? I mean, and that's why. Do you think this government is sincere? And I'm talking about the 8th Assembly in this Constitution amendment process. Do you think there's sincerity on their part?
When you will have the budget of the whole National Assembly more than the budget of police, and you have presently they say we have about 300,000 policemen.
360.
360 now. Okay, they recruited more.
It's been about
and they said statistics also has about 100,000 of them are designated to protect politicians, private people.
It should be more.
We could be more. Let's even say we just have 200,000 policemen for the people.
For 180 million
people. Then you also look at funding is a major issue. Training. Nigeria as it stands needs nothing less than 2-3 million policemen. But first, you need to, there has never been any activity at their place to talk about the reform of the police system. You see our policemen, no bulletproof vests.
They are not talking about, they are not talking about reformation in the Nigerian police. They are not talking about the poor enumeration. You are not talking about training of the Nigerian police.
We're not even talking about policemen, community policing. Because a lot of people have feared putting powers of the police in the hands of the states. But what I tell people is, don't forget you will still have the federal police.
which will overlook.
Which we overlook. So no matter how well they want to go far overboard, the federal will still checkmate whatever you want. So the constitution will be done in such a way, even all over the world, you still have the federal. No matter what the state does, they have more jurisdiction than you.
You will still have the FBI,
Yeah,
the
you
CIA,
still have all that. So they can checkmate whatever shenanigans. But the challenge we have is we are not focusing on the empowerment of the police system. This one is just addressing name. Police, it will shock you to find out that
that's to tell you
the allocation for managing a police post, police division, a post, about 15,000 a month from the budget.
Impressed.
That for you to manage expenses, operational expenses in a month. The police
Trust me, then I have to be giving police money.
So when people when people keep saying police, they are corrupt, a man is carrying a gun without bulletproof, facing thieves. The only people that provide, I think there's only government body that's provided bulletproof for all those guys in RRS. It's only those ones that you see with bulletproof that are a bit well kitted compared to the other ones. So if they are focusing on those issues, then I think that's why I think it's a bit apolitical. Because some people have always said maybe that force in their name is what's making them forceful. So let's remove the word force. No, there are a whole lot of under fundamental issues like funding, training, and a policeman dies, there's no insurance. You are still, quite a lot of other factors. So that's why I think on this one they missed it seriously. And this is where I say the civil society groups, the pressure groups, the people, the citizens themselves. If we don't become pressure groups and begin to mount pressure on the people that represent us in those houses about the kind of bills they should be pushing in our interest, we're not going to get, because most of these things these guys are doing, they're not consulting with their constituency. They just sit down and look at, okay, what things do we talk about today that serves their own purpose and interest.
Now, this is where the issue of referendum comes back in. I mean, like I was trying to discuss during the break. Now, when the people have a say in as regards some of their laws and as regards some constitutional amendments, it tends to give the people hope, and it tends also to push government in the direction of the people, making government being for the people and about the people.
But we also have to look at
a mild drama.
We have to look at the dynamics of the environment we operate in. We cannot
overlook that. But we saw a mild drama last Wednesday at the House of Representatives when it got to the issue of e-voting. Yeah. We saw some representatives from a certain part of the country say, no, we need to go back and consult
Do you think they are sincere?
Members of our country.
Exactly.
No. But that was what they said. That was an excuse for pushing to a later day that, no, we need to go back.
The question you need to ask yourself, these guys that are talking, when last did they hold a town hall meeting
but that is how it should be. Shouldn't that be obtainable? But if we have it spelled out in the Constitution that, look, we must have referendums, it makes it more guiding, don't you think so?
But prior to having a referendum,
we have the ability to hold it
for
to
example,
ransom.
Considering the low level of literacy in the north and poverty,
that is not an excuse.
Do you think it is?
It's a factor.
It's a very major factor.
But it's their opinion.
No.
At the end of the
It's
day,
a factor.
it's their opinion. Then it will become the duty of the media. And then
it's not
individuals.
It's not a media thing.
I don't think so.
It's something that should be systemic. If as a governor of a state in the north, you have not empowered basic education up to secondary school.
Thank you, Gbenga.
You have not empowered that. You have not provided enough funding or incentive to get people into school. That's where the power to read and do critical reasoning comes from. It's not just going to be about, because the media can also narrate junk.
No, but I need to understand something.
Okay.
Before we had this system of governance and what we can call westernization in Nigeria, we had our own local forms of government. The people then were not educated. They did not have what you call, they were educated, but not formal. They did not have formal education. We know that there are various forms of education. Now, we saw how they took part in decision-making as regards issues that affected all of them, their community.
How many years ago?
How many, it doesn't matter how many years ago. But now let us borrow a leaf from that. A lot of people are watching this program. Yeah. This is another form of education. They hear our arguments. They hear our banter.
But how many
they
people
pick
from the
information.
grassroots?
People from the grassroots, they have radio. They also
many of
have
them
radio.
watch?
Some of them have radio. Some of them have
How
TV,
many of
pocket
them
TV.
even understand the
Governance.
content?
How many of them
Wait.
even understand governance?
Yes.
They know
Or
what. They know the
understand
basics. They know
basic
I
of what?
need life. They
assuming.
know
You are
I need
assuming.
life.
You are assuming that they know.
Come on.
How many of them even understand what democracy
We are
should be?
talking about people who, according to the IMF and World Bank, they say live below poverty line. They certainly know the basics, the fundamentals of what they want.
But
So
how many
if
of
on
them
the day
know
of
what
the
to even expect
referendum,
from their leaders? Where you will go to an election
expect-
and the leaders will give you 500 naira to vote or give you Indomie noodles and you will vote the interest of these people. Because these are people that cannot even generate 300 naira a day.
No, but
Now,
they
the
know what
point
they
is
they're
want.
not giving
No,
1,000
look at this
gentlemen, they
scenario.
know the
Look at-
basics
no,
of what they
no,
want.
let me give you
I
this.
sincerely
You
do not-
assume- you
I do
assume
not
they know.
agree with
Let me
both
give you
of
this.
you
You
as
assume they
regards
know.
the
It's
referendum.
okay. Let me tell you this. There's an old woman that I know. People came around to say there's going to be a meeting by a political party. And the woman said something very close to where I was standing. You would have expected that the woman would say something like, let's go and listen to what they have to offer. Let's go there and see if they will say something totally different from what they have been telling us. The woman said, go and call other people. At least we are sure that when this meeting finishes, we will not come back home empty-handed.
Empty-handed.
I mean,
That you have
that
a
is an
few
old
individuals.
woman.
No, that's a general.
No,
Look,
it may be
it's a
general in some
general
quarters.
thing.
No, that
It
is
may
it's
be
a general thing. It is.
It is a general thing.
Look, I have a mentor in PDP, a political mentor that I learned quite a lot of things from. Anytime they are having ward meeting in his constituencies, that's very strong in Alemosho. Anytime they are having ward meeting, any form of meeting, people must eat. People must be giving transportation money back.
But that is the
Look,
mentality.
that's the only
what
reason-
we have
let me
learned.
tell you
That's the only
what-
reason why
That
they
is why-
come.
That's why they
but
come.
do you
That's
know
the only
what?
reason why they
No,
come.
no, no,
Why
Not
they
because
come.
they want to banter each
They
other.
don't want to
Excuse
have-
me, gentlemen.
Okay.
If you keep dropping food here
Yeah.
for a cat, you feed the cat a stray cat today, you feed it tomorrow, it knows the third day it's going to
Why do you
get
think the
food.
Bible says if
It
your
knows-
neighbor is hungry,
it also knows,
don't pray for him?
Guess what?
Give him food first.
It also knows that, look, if my friends are hungry, I can bring them. You feed one cat here, tomorrow expect to see over 10.
Yeah.
If we begin to change the schemes as regards money politics,
Who is going to change? Who is changing that?
The schemes of money politics.
You and I who are educated.
Money politics,
by
there's
the
no
time
one
we
change
change-
politics in Nigeria.
You cannot put information into the head of somebody that is hungry. Somebody that doesn't know how he's going to feed in a day, how he's going to take care of his family.
But this is-
so
we
what kind of
paint- we
empowerment?
paint
No,
these
we need
things
to
like-
we need to be very, very real. Poverty, hunger, lack, not knowing how you're going to survive the day.
The next day, or
is
the very day
is
that you are
something
in.
that a politician can use to the disadvantage of the people. And that is why they have kept the people in perpetual poverty. And they have not thought of making rules and laws that would empower people out of poverty. I keep telling people, when you see a governor that is celebrating that he did a road, a street light, overhead bridge, that is the height of mediocrity.
What is his
the height-
responsibility?
It is the height.
If he's
and
celebrating
people will be
that,
applauding them and say,
Yeah.
at least he tried. That is the height of mediocrity.
You are telling me I
Governance.
tried doing my job.
Governance,
What I'm being paid
the
to
key
do.
things about governance is Human Development Index.
That's true.
And now do you measure it? You are measuring it by this level of literacy, disposable income, infant mortality rates, life expectancy, things that has to do with the quality of lives of the people. Welfare is not about all these stupid, silly roads, there are bridges that are launching all over the place where the people are hungry.
You are doing your work because in the first instance, if you don't
It's your
do
work. You're not doing anything spectacular. You're not trying to impress us. But we have created governance in such a way that people think it's all about, they should put infrastructure, they should put... No, people need to be empowered first. People need to be taken out of poverty. That is the challenge a lot of people are having against the bills being passed by the National Assembly. If they are passed bills like devolution of powers, empowerment of local governments, creates full autonomy of the full autonomy they are granting the Attorney General's office,
Yes.
Accountant General's office, because these governors even needs to be checkmated.
Very true.
They are too powerful. The Accountant General's office, the Attorney General's office, all those offices need to be fully independent and have their own independent funding from the governor.
Because they cannot even afford to make those ministries to be political.
But they are being
politically
controlled by the
biased.
governors.
But today, that's what is happening.
So if we don't have that happening, We cannot have these governors begin to perform and do the things they're supposed to do.
But if the people do not have a say...
Let's talk about another key area. Creation of more local governments. Creation of more local governments. Knowing fully well that the creation of states that have been done, the one done by the military junta, the Maradona himself, Ibrahim Badabousi Babangida, and the other one done during the time of General Sani Abacha. All of these people felt favors the northern part of the country because more states were created.
More money to be stolen.
Exactly, because
an election, manipulation elections.
More states were being created in that. How do you think creating more local governments will eventually, because as far as I'm concerned, more states there, and you want to create more local governments when we have not even fine-tuned the LCDA. We still have the LCDA who are still not constitutionally approved to be local government. They are still called local government development areas.
Highly unconstitutional.
Then you want to create more.
So the thing is this. The reforms that need to be done at the moment should be about how do you create enablements to make sure a local government is fully independent, fully in control of its resources, and what kind of exclusive list do we also place them on in terms of whether healthcare, what percentage of the healthcare within a state are they going to manage, communities or schools that they will be responsible for, and they'll be ensuring that the funding are strong enough. It's going to be a joint funding between the state and the local government to fund specific schools. Let me give you 18,000 primary and secondary schools are in Lagos State. 18,000. Just about 1,002 are public schools. Out of 18,000 primary and secondary schools, and government should be the one driving basic education. So what we have done, we have fully privatized education, basic education that should be the rights according to the Constitution. So when you look at such things, just 1,200, when you look at such things that you now need to empower the local government. We need to restructure how even elections are even done within the local government.
Exactly.
We need to reform who should be able to aspire for a position in the local government. How should the elections run? The full independence, full autonomy of... So still critical to our development is still these local government things. There are a lot of reforms that need to be done there. But what we have...
And then local security seems, it seems to be something...
Community development.
Exactly, because when you have a functional local government, you are simply saying...
It's better
local security... Exactly.
It's easier, but and you also need to understand this issue also as regards... Let's borrowing from what's happening in Ikorodu in Lagos State as regards traditional rulers and how powerful they have become and how they seem to control everything, particularly local security. Now, we need local security, but how then do we...
It should be the powers of the local... It should be under the local government.
Exactly. No, but we know how we're an African society, and then we seem also to place a lot of preference or reverence on traditional rulers. How then do we make sure that they do not have overbearing influences on the local government? Because we know at the end of the day, during elections, the local government, even the state governors, they need these people to talk to their locals.
You see where education plays a factor, a role there. You see where poverty and education...
Does that mean we should do away with traditional rulers?
No. They have their place.
When
it comes to governance, their influence should not be overbearing. We have the way we have created the politics dynamics of Nigeria, we have done it in such a way to put so much power into the hands of these people, that old people, because we are still operating in a way that we hold people like they are subjects. When people keep seeing themselves as subjects. And you know why that happens? Because we have not created a system that focuses on social security and welfare. When government is defined in such a way that every citizen has access to social security and welfare, who will go and say traditional ruler to eat, to feed? When you know, even if I don't have a job, there are certain things I still have access to. Okay. There are basic things I have access to that takes care of, because when you can feed a man, he can think straight. When he has no fear of what he's going to eat tomorrow, where he's going to sleep, how he's going to make things work for his family.
When he's not overbearing,
that was
greedy,
what we were saying on the morning show. Why don't Nigerians revolt?
Why don't Nigerians revolt?
Why don't they come out? Why? Okay, you use the example of Turkey. They want a change of government. In South Africa, they want a change of government. In Rwanda, they want a change of
But
government.
you know, the institutions in all these countries fight for the interests of the people. The institutions are being controlled by the same people that have muzzled us, put us where they are.
Exactly.
In all these countries you are talking about, the institutions are fully independent. The institutions are not being muzzled, uncontrolled.
What killed Occupy Nigeria?
Look at what's happening
We got
in
to
Venezuela.
on
It
the
was a
fourth
political
day,
movement.
On the fourth day, and we saw soldiers with hammer tanks. And I'm like, excuse me.
You remember Egypt during the days of Mubarak, when the military came out, the military never fought against the people. The military just wanted to stem the tide in the uneasiness that was going
That
on
it is
at that time.
controlled,
Yes.
it is controlled. But in Nigeria, you have trigger-happy, trigger hungry police officers
who do not
will
even-
shoot at
who
the
do not
people.
Who don't give a damn about the citizens?
And let's talk about poverty. You know, people are impoverished. A typical Nigerian is bothered about what happens the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. And so if you say, we are going out for 1 week, how do I survive? What will my children feed on?
If I die in the midst of this struggle, what happens to my family?
But that's how everybody is.
Do you know why it works?
Even the political
I was
class.
saying it.
That is why you see them stealing and amassing so much wealth.
But they are well protected.
So at the end of the day,
I was saying it that.
Here.
Do you know why it works in the Western world? And they go out en masse. It's simple. Everybody is holding a credit card. And you know that even if it is for 1 week or 2 weeks,
social security and welfare is guaranteed.
I'm telling you, you will still go and swipe your credit card and buy everything and anything you want.
Because basics.
At the end of the day. So you don't need to care that, okay, I'm not at work today, what happens? I have a credit card. I can still spend, I can still eat food, I can still do what I want to do, even though for 1 week I've not worked. But in this society...
No, there's so much inequality here. Inequality is massive in Nigeria. Even when it comes to income as well, there is high income inequality, even in Nigeria. So when you look at all those dynamics, it will be hard to get people to really rise up and do what needs to be done. Okay, let's quickly talk. Because of time, we don't have time anymore. Expenditure authorization. Now, the part of what they want to amend is expenditure authorization. They want a situation where all monies that will be spent must be authorized by the legislative arm of government. Basically, that's the way it's done world over. You need to account for, even organizations, they have internal control mechanism, they have internal audits. Because these funds are taxpayers' funds. Everything that we spend up to a kobo, because presently right now, we spend outside of budgets. We spend recklessly. Most of the interventions of CBN, for example, some of those interventions are not really constitutional in themselves. Because when you are making Forex available for people that are going to that are bringing imports, people that are going to pay school fees, against those that are in the service sector
you can imagine
looking for Forex to develop business and grow businesses. It became a topic of discussion on the floor, on the plenary session of the National Assembly. That they were trying to... to sell... You know, so you are putting so those kind of things we need to streamline it so that we ensure also it's not a way of the legislature to try and muzzle the executive as well. Which may happen. Which may happen because everything we do is always political. It's not in the interest of the country. So that's why people are a bit hesitant about buying into that because they always feel but really in itself the legislature should be independent, should be able to checkmate every shenanigans from the executive, and every dime you spend must be approved. All right, build up to 2019. I've been saying it, and I want Crossfire to be like the platform that has been building up to 2019. Build up to 2019. What do you see? 2019, 30 seconds. 2019, I don't see much happening. Okay. Because new gladiators are not in the public space until they said there is a bill, the bill of not too young to run. That's not my own issue. My own issue is if we cannot reform the Electoral Act and cut and limit how much money people can spend for elections, how much access, funding, transparency. Who funds the election? Who funds the election? Every dime that is being spent, we want to know. You must publish it, you must make it open. And also, no, all this one about campaigning 19 days before election is what makes it... Independent candidature, fine.
Right,
but 90 days before election, that thing that is an electoral, I think we need to remove that. Make it 1 year before election.
All right, Gbenga, thank you so very much for those insightful comments throughout the period of the show. Thanks to Ishama too.
Thank you,
we'll go now, we'll be back tomorrow with another very interesting package. Always remember, Nigeria is bigger than all of us. Yes. Let's keep it together because we are stronger together and not apart.
To enjoy more of these our Gbenga videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.